Welcome to our Insights in Accounting show as part of the Accounting Influencers Podcast Network. I'm Rob Brown here with our guest host, it's Will Farnell. And this is where we take a piece of news, an article, some commentary, a social media post, and we give it a little bit of a treatment and make it practical for you accounting, bookkeeping, CPA professionals out there so that you know what to do to be better today, than you were yesterday. And Will, what's caught your eye today is a piece in Accounting Today entitled "The Frontier: Firms Need to Stop Putting Their Tech Needs First." So why did this catch your eye?
It was a title, Rob. It's stuff that I talk about fairly regularly these days in terms of tech's important. And I wrote a book called The Digital Firm. So clearly technology is a big part of what we do as a business. But technology is only ever an enabler. So what caught my attention here is that we're saying firms have got to stop putting their, and you can read this in a number of different ways, but it's firms need to stop putting their tech needs first. So that instantly presupposes that firms are making decisions about what's right for them, potentially, rather than what's right for clients. And there's a number of ways you can cut this. I've spent many years saying you got to stick to one platform. My thinking's evolved a little bit as platforms have leveled in terms of what they offer. At the point that I first started saying that, we had clear market leaders, and the landscape or the playing field has leveled in terms of the functionality of those solutions. But the efficiencies that you get from using one platform is greater than using multiple. So there's an argument here that I'm guilty of what the article's saying, that I was putting our efficiency before what our clients actually need. But the way the thinking's evolved is that actually now we can kind of start to build teams that specialize in certain solutions. But if you think about technology generally, then my argument is always it's all about the client, and we only change technology, we only use technology where it makes a fundamental difference to what we deliver to our clients.
Yeah, well, let's tee this up by reading a little bit from the piece by Chris Shatano. We'll put the link in the show notes. He says, while there's no doubt that profession is currently undergoing a technical revolution, there remains a question as to who exactly all this progress is for. While the ostensible answer is our clients, thought leaders in the field have expressed concern that in some leaders' hearts, the answer is our firm. So leaders may not even realize this, but evidence is showing through the typical client experience. And there's a lovely quote from Donna Shimamoto, who's a guest on this show as well. Says that many firms have internal technology and automation under control, and that generates new efficiencies and capabilities to facilitate better productivity. He says this is good as it allows for higher quality work, but at the same time, there's not been much attention paid to the client experience, much to the profession's detriment. You'd go along with that, Will.
Yeah, I mean, and that's perfectly worded. So we focused on putting in place technology that clearly helps us as a firm, and I think that's fine. We want to be able to deliver what we do in the most efficient manner, because it's about creating capacity. So when I first moved our clients onto online technology, we were one of the first firms to do that globally back in 2009, and every client we got used online accounting technology. But it was before we had ecosystems and before we had pre-accounting tools, so we were still keying data. But the reason that I did that, and some would say it that we kind of wanted to use technology for automation, but the fundamental start point for that is that I had access to my clients' data 24/7. That was a reason I did it. So it was a client focus. And it was really interesting because at the time we were badged online accountants, which was quite derogatory. So our local competition saw us as this online thing, and we didn't care about clients, and all we wanted to do was do it cheaply. Whereas the reality was the complete opposite. I did it because I saw an opportunity to use technology to do better by the client, because it meant that I could get on the phone with a client and we could look at the same thing at the same time. Yeah. And that was my driver, and it's been my driver right the way through. So I love what Donnie's saying here in terms of we have to focus on the client experience. We have to think about, why are we doing the things that we do? How does it help the client? And the best analogy I've got here is that we've got this technology that lets us deliver live accounting data to our clients, because we get bank data in every day. So bank data gets fed into the accounting software, but it's only any use to the client once it's been processed. So a big thing that we've done and I've pioneered and kind of banged on about for many years now is daily bookkeeping. So it's a big thing for our firm. We do bookkeeping for 60% of our client base, and we're providing live accounting data. And the reason we do that is it's because I feel what clients deserve. Yesterday in the UK, we've got this thing called MTD, which is digitalization of our tax system. And I was on a panel at an event yesterday, and somebody said, we should all be doing bookkeeping because we need to be doing it for MTD. And I corrected them and said, well, no, that's fundamentally wrong. We need to be doing daily bookkeeping because it's what our clients deserve. We've got the technology, we've got the infrastructure to enable us to deliver this valuable data to our clients. So what Donnie's saying here is that actually we've got this technology and it makes it nice and easy for us to do the things we need to do. But actually, if we don't think about the client experience of it, we're still going to be doing that monthly, or we're still going to be doing it quarterly. Yes, we're going to be doing it a bit smarter than we used to, but actually it's what's right for us rather than kind of what's right for the client.
Sure. There's a great quote from Roman Kepchik. I hope I'm saying his name right. He's director of firm technology strategy at Right Networks. And he says that he gives an example of client portals, Will, that say sometimes end up being more for the firm than the client if the leaders don't have the right mindset going in. So he says, I always ask this question, if we change this process, how does it impact the client? And he says this isn't asked enough. And then he explains this is why there's so many failures in early client portals and solutions, because it made it easier for the firm, but the client needed to know a bunch of stuff, and if their password didn't work, they had to do more stuff, and it just became horrible. So he concludes by saying, I think accountants should think about how they make this stuff easier for their clients and what tools are available and what do we do with them.
Yeah, it's all about looking at the client journey. And if we think about digital, we think about the concept of disruption. I was at a QBC event in San Jose. It would have been 2019, pre-pandemic, and there was a speaker, and he said something that has stuck with me, and I've used it a number of times, and I feel very bad because I can't remember who the speaker was, but he was talking about digital disruption, and he said digital disruption is simply removing friction from the process. So if we think about what accountants do, and we think about all of the friction that we almost create in our processes. And this is the point here. It's like, it's fine having a portal because it means you can click a button in your accounts production software and it'll send a link to the client to enable them to log on and sign the document. So it's absolutely right that's great for the firm, but what barriers are we putting up for the client in that process? So if we think about that kind of digital disruption is about removing friction from the process, then we should be looking at where do we create friction, rather than thinking about let's just do loads of stuff that works for us. It's actually thinking about designing processes and looking at the processes we have and say, where are we putting hurdles in place here? How can we strip stuff out to make it easier for the client? So again, this is the point of this article. There's so many really great snippets here, and it is all about we've got to put the client first. The best thing about being an accountant is this thing called gross recurring fees, which means as long as we don't mess up, the client keeps coming back every single year. So what that does, the reason that's bad for accountants is that it sets the bar really low in terms of what we deliver. Because if the start point, if the bar is all we've got to do is not mess up, then that's not overly stretching in terms of the experiences we deliver for our clients. So we have to think beyond that. If we want to differentiate, if we want competitive advantage, we've got to be looking at experiences. We've got to be looking at client experience rather than client service.
And Jenny Whitehouse is quoted in the article. She leads the Impactful Advisor. She gives a little bit of insight, Will, into why this is the case. She says that these failures, i.e. not putting the client first, beyond internal efficiency needs, can come from an excess of caution on the firm side. Namely, the firm will orient processes to protect itself from possible legal and regulatory risks, which doesn't make it an optimal client experience. She says, professionals need to ask the question, what makes it easier for the client? And if they're focused on checking boxes, So the tools about documentation and covering their backsides and meeting regulatory requirements, they're automating from an efficiency perspective, but they're not making things better for the client. They're making things better for themselves.
Yeah. And it's the same point. I mean, what this article clearly does is highlight the fact that it is a mindset. And often I talk about a practice mindset versus a business mindset, and too many accountants operate with a practice mindset. So, and that's largely the profession's fault, because it's the way we're trained. So we go to university, we join a firm, we learn how to do things the way the firm do it, and that sticks with us for life. Whereas if we start to think about our firms as a business, we start to put the client at the center and at the heart of what we do. In my book, Digital Firm, I created what I call Digital Firm Wheel, and client experience is the hub of the wheel. So it's like you don't think about any of this other stuff without thinking about what the impact is on the client. So for me, the heart of a digital firm is one that puts client experience above everything else. And the client experience is what drives every decision that we make. So I'm supporting everything that this article is saying here, that it's really too easy for us to go through and be really focused on our processes, our risk management, at the expense of what we ultimately deliver for the client.
Yeah. Let's give a shout out to Randy Johnson as we bring this to a close. He's one of our advisory board at the Accounting Influencers Roundtable. He's the president of K2 Enterprises, hugely respected in the software and CPA space in America. And he says that unfortunately, there's a tragic amount of compromised independence in the market right now. There's a whole lot of people acting in the interest of the firm as opposed to the client. They're taking commissions and revenues on the backside without disclosing. Instead of trying to fit the solutions to the client, they're trying to sell the solution that they have. So he's looking at the vendor perspective here, and they've got their agenda, and he understands that, but it might not fit the client's needs. And so we've got to get the right perspective here, because there's different stakeholders. It's the vendors that are pushing their solutions. There's the accountants who are trying to do what's best for them. There's the poor old client that's on the outside that just have to react to everything that's going on. There's some lessons here.
Absolutely. And I think for our firm, for a very long time, technology has been our USP. So we've led the charge on technology. We were doing stuff with technology before other people. That's created a USP for us. But the point we're at now is that all of the technology that we use is available for anybody. And actually, if people Googled, there's plenty of sessions of me talking about our process and the way we work as a business. So anyone can go out and replicate what we do right now. So our USP is diluted. And actually, where this article is going really nicely is for me, what comes next. So it was the digital firm. I'm now talking about the human firm. And actually, this is about the next level of differentiator. So when everybody's using the same tech, same processes, the only way we differentiate what we do is in people. And there's two sides to that. There's our internal people and what they do to support our clients, but actually it's understanding what the client wants, thinking about the client journey, thinking about client lifetime value and the insights that we need to be able to surface and deliver to really make a fundamental difference to the experience we deliver for our clients. So it's really great to see this article and see other people sharing my views of the world around we've got to put client experience at the heart of everything that we do within our accounting firms.
And you've spoken before, Will, about the importance of vision and purpose in directing the brand of a firm, if nothing else. And Dennis Shimamoto says at the end here, he speaks to the client experience, speaks to the firm's brand identity. He asks, is our customer experience a commodity experience like buying from Walmart, or can we upscale or act like a luxury boutique? Or are we Amazon? And he's saying technology can create different experiences. The question is, what experience best matches the brand image the firms want to have?
Absolutely. And I go beyond brand when I talk about this, and I talk about firm personality, because for me, a brand is quite static, whereas a personality can evolve. And I think you're absolutely right. Strategically, firms have got a choice. So firms can choose to commoditize what they do, drive the price down, provide a kind of low frill service. But the whole idea of the cost leadership model is there can only be one that's the cheapest. So therefore, we have to think about differentiation. I think power of purpose is really coming into its own now. And I reflect on the things that I did as a firm. And whilst I didn't realize it in the last 2 to 3 years, I've really come to understand what a key role having clarity of purpose has played in growing my accounting firm, and it's now resurfacing that kind of purpose for the team that we've built. But there is a choice, absolutely, there's a choice in terms of the way firms position themselves, and for me, it is about let's deliver those first-class client experiences that really give us a point of difference in the market, and in turn deliver the outcomes that clients really want from us.
Yeah, that's world class. Will Farnell, thank you so much for joining us on the Insights in Accounting show, where we bring you the news and the commentary, but not just that, it's interpreting it through the lens of somebody that really knows what works in an accounting firm. It's been great to get those insights from you, Will. Thank you.
Pleasure, Rob. Thank you.